Hi everyone, welcome back. We're here at the Guidewell Insights Lounge at day one of the Oliver Wyman Health Innovation Summit. My name is Kate Warnock. I'm so pleased to bring back one of our favorite people from OWHIC, Mr. Eugene Sayan. How are you?
Thank you, Kate.
Eugene,
great to be here.
We're glad to have you here. So Eugene, you are the founder, chairman, and CEO of Sayan.
Yes.
All right, well, to prepare for the interview for here at the summit, I took a look again at the interview we conducted at AHIP just in July, and you gave some really intriguing responses, and I kind of wanted to go back, dig a little bit deeper.
Sure.
So one of the things that you said is you predicted a supply chain transformation where health plans wouldn't necessarily own but govern their data assets. Can you give us a little bit more background on that vision?
Absolutely, absolutely. So our definition of supply chain, when we talk about, everybody talks about this consumerism. To me, supply chain and consumerism, it's almost like interchangeable to one another. Anytime you have a consumerism in a picture, you often engage in a series of partners or value-added resellers in a supply chain context altogether. I think a great example will be, if that is the assumption that we make, if we just kind of look back to other industries. And probably no one is better example of a true supply chain manager is Apple. And today, Apple able to deliver million phones on the single day of their openings. Yeah? Yet, Apple doesn't probably owns a single factory. Okay, they are able to bring together series of vendors, including their competitors. Samsung makes most of the displays on iPhones, as you know, and there are so many other examples. You know, Dell's always been. So when it gets to this just-in-time manufacturing, just-in-time consumerism, because individuals, consumers are looking for that real-time response. So what it really boils down to, how do I build those assets, if you will? Okay, in a safest and fastest manner, that without taking a lot of risks. So imagine if Apple had a factory and all of a sudden that a version of an iPhone was a flop, right? So in this new model, where the assets now being quickly assembled through globally, not just where you are now located, and now we're seeing the assets being expanded beyond the I will call the physical assets, but into the consultants. You know, into the research and development. So what we are seeing is is the value-added chain is being formed as part of the supply chain, and now being able to basically positioning yourself either on the supply side of the business, or it's going to be in the demand side of the business.
Okay.
You know, I think what we see in the healthcare space, especially, for instance, demand side providers or service providers, Oscar will be a great example, because they are focusing on primarily the consumer. Where we see a lot of other health plans, good example perhaps is Centene, where they focus on the supply side of it because they extend and leverage their Medicaid assets and how they're able to bring an affordable insurance and sustainable business model to the consumers.
You know, so I presume that this has all been enabled by technology, because I would presume that the reason why a health plan would own all of its data assets had something to do with regulation as well, and PHI and all of the laws that are there to protect it. So
Right.
I imagine that we're now in an age where we've created a safer way of managing that data information, where it's not necessarily something that they have to keep under lock and key themselves.
That is absolutely correct too. You know, if you look at it, over the years, last 15, 20 years, that the insurance carriers have accumulated a series of assets, some directly, some indirectly through mergers and acquisitions and everything else, and all of a sudden that you have this plethora of basically IT assets that where the data is kind of all over the place. And there are so many entry and exit points of these systems altogether, it's very difficult. So I think converting your business model to a supply chain and basically piecemealing, if you will, a small portion of your business and pushing to a vendor downstream or upstream in the supply chain. And from this point on, so it is your now responsibility. And many of those vendors, because they're under contractual obligation through serviceable agreements and so on and so forth, they are building the systems from ground up with the idea of that the data protections, the privacy of the data, and so on and so forth. Case in point, you know, Sayan, we are a small company, 150 engineers, primarily PhDs and whatnot. But we go through 5 different audits every year, from SOC 1 to SOC 2 to the PCI and everything else. As we speak right now, we have a red team attacking our servers, a company that we hire, And we have a blue team defending our servers. As we speak, this is an event that occurs on a daily basis at Sayan, and that's how we position ourselves to be a partner of a trusted, well-trusted partner in supply chain.
Well, you make a really compelling case for the vision that you have. So next question for you then, Eugene.
Sure.
You also said in our earlier interview that we're no longer in a winner-takes-all situation in the health industry. What drives your approach to collaboration, and how does this benefit the consumer?
Absolutely. So again, I think the what we see as an example, what's happening in the healthcare space, especially as it relates to the ACA, all throughout the day and all over Wyoming, we had great panels, great conversations that all we are coming back to the same process altogether to the healthcare is broken and that needs to be fixed. And if it was that easy, it would have been fixed by now.
Right.
Let's put it this way. So that's just our definition of not a winner-takes-all situation altogether. It needs a lot of help in terms of the consumerization, the marketing, the education. GuideWell Connect is a leader in that space. You're helping other health plans to better market, better reach out to the consumers altogether. We talked about the delivery systems altogether, the supply chain management, or middle office operations as we call it, and then you go back to the analytics aspect to it. How do I close the loop, if you will? So here's the one iteration, the first year of our exchanges. What have we learned? How does the consumer utilize our product and services? So what we are seeing is truly, it's no longer a mile wide, inch deep industry, healthcare. It's turning into really a series of pockets of inch-wide, mile-deep entities altogether that with the expert looking to, let it be on the claims utilization side, how does it affect it? How does that particular population is using the product and services? So I can bring those experiences back to my product designs, give that to my actuarial so they can do a better product design and so on and so forth. So I think that in the typical supply chain, once again, giving back the same analogy earlier, probably Costco sells as much Apple devices as the Apple itself. So it's all about the ecosystem. That's one thing about it. And what makes this different than this time, this was a couple of attempts, as we know, this is not the first attempt to fix the healthcare per se. I think as you just said, the linchpin of this thing is the technology. Technology is now so commoditized. It's no longer a differentiator. It's truly a commodity. Today, we just heard about, Sam Glick talking about starting up a business. You can go to Amazon, have 10 servers on your name in 20 minutes, right? You can just basically open up, go to crowdsourcing and raise some funds in 30 days from people that you never met, but they believe in the vision.
Right.
So that's our definition of that, basically ecosystem collaborations, kind of high tide, low tide. We all win or we all lose together. I'm hoping that we're all going to all win, including the consumer, which is the most stakeholder in the process.
Absolutely. Well, Eugene, you were referencing your engineers and your PhDs that work for you at Sayan. As I was researching, preparing for our interview, I came across a LinkedIn article that one of your engineers had put out, and it was all about blockchain and how it is applicable to the health industry, specifically health plans. I was hoping that you could kind of deconstruct for us, because we were just on with Mark Stryker and Eric Grossman talking about some buzzwords. Is blockchain a buzzword, or is it really something that you think can disrupt the health industry?
Right. Just like any new buzzword, it is a buzzword, and probably the blockchain was introduced to the general masses through Bitcoin,
right,
as you know, and has a close kind of association. But in reality, blockchain is just another algorithm, computer algorithm, just like searching was an algorithm, how Yahoo did searches versus Google does searches altogether too. It is a way of doing things. And we have actually been using blockchain algorithms in many different ways, and not in the sense that how Bitcoin introduced blockchain to the masses altogether. One good example will be, for instance, if you had your last car buying experience, one of the things that I think that a lot of people do is they go to Carfax to see who owned the car, what they have done with that, how often there has been service. Well, that is actually the very rudimentary blockchain right in place for you. Okay,
right, great
so
example.
One distinction from that to the current model, instead of having a one monolithic owner, which is in this case Carfax, in the blockchain model, we're talking about millions of registries. So you are able to imagine kind of being on a Twitter and followers. You just post a message saying, who owned this car that I'm about to buy? and all of a sudden that information starts flowing downstream to you.
Okay.
So blockchain is a next iteration of big data. We discussed big data last time. So there is a close proximity, a close relationship. Here's where they are. What deems as a big data, we follow by 3 attributes. The volume of the data, immensity of the data, gigabytes, petabyte, now we're talking about zettabytes, right? Variety of the data coming in so many different ways. We see a lot of data coming XMLs and multimedias and all those things all together, and a lot of machine learning going to that space, as you know. And the velocity of the data, speed of the data, how quickly now we're generating. As we speak, there are Twitters are flying out of here. This is being multicasted on the internet altogether too. So if you think about the blockchain algorithm is an envelope that you can stuff into it. So it's a box. If you think about the same analogy, again, the FedEx analogy, is the supply chain distribution model. Think of the blockchains are the boxes that you can put something in it. And you can put anything. You have different sizes of the boxes altogether too. So the blockchain is simply an algorithm that just goes around that enveloping the message and being able to share that message with anyone in a very simple terms, because I don't need to know the details. So that the understanding on opening up the envelope, seeing what's in it, will be left to the individual participating in it. But the registry is indicating that there is an envelope sitting at Kate's desk.
Right.
That is a blockchain registry, public registry, that anybody who wants to know how many letters envelopes sitting in Kate's desk, that's one thing. What do you pull out them? Which one of them are personal, which one are business? Those are be determined by the individual applications like Bitcoin. So it's an overall big thinking process altogether. It's really the next step to the big data. It's about collaborating and sharing big data in a very unified way for an application-specific way altogether. So some of the areas like we talk about a blockchain use is the use of most common one, for instance, is a medical record. So rather than, as you know, that we went through this major exercise around health information exchanges and there was supposed to be a one place we can go find all my medical records. Well, that did not happen in reality. Ended up creating multiple silos. So we hope that the owners of those silos, the governors of the silos, will adapt to and agree on some collaboration mechanism that you as an individual, I as an individual, I can say, show me all my medical records. All of a sudden that information starts flowing down to me, but I am the one that actually, that key that unlocks every one of the data altogether. And then I can give that key to my doctor while I'm visiting in his office, in her office. As soon as he or she updates my records, I get that key and walk away. I see my next doctor. So my records follow me in the process. That will be an application of a blockchain algorithm how it's being used, and similar in the different areas as well.
Well, I mean, it sounds like the holy grail of what we've really been looking for. It seems like does away with the interoperability problems that
Yes.
we've been plagued by, the siloing of information.
Yes.
Most importantly, though, it puts that control, as you said, back in the consumer's hands, and that's something that has been a challenge and a real demand for some time.
Yes.
So I'm so grateful that you explained it to us in such clear terms, and was really looking forward to covering that topic. So no doubt we're going to touch on that again with you the next time we have you back, Eugene.
Look forward to it.
At the Guidal Insights Lounge. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
My name is Kate Warnock. We're going to be up next with our next guest in just a moment. Please stay tuned. Thank you.